Now, Levi's has announced its new global brand campaign entitled Live in Levi's. It's inspired, I'm told, by millions of stories that consumers tell about the things they do in their jeans. Everything from firstborns to road trips. And you can let us know what you think of the campaign on our Facebook page. Here is the address. Now, just around the corner, the annual Loeries Awards that recognises excellence in creativity. Win a Loerie, and it means good things for the brand and the agency. The chief executive of the Loeries is Andrew Human. He's just returned, I'm told, from a sweep through 5 African countries. Has some new insight into the communication landscape beyond our borders. Andrew, welcome to you. Loeries first, always new ideas. You've got new categories. What's in store this year?
Well, I think Creative Week is again just around the corner, and one of the very interesting things this year, which we've launched just over the last couple of years, is the DSTV Seminar of Creativity, which we bring in a whole host of international speakers. And I think we've really got a fantastic lineup. We've got an Emmy Award winner this year. We've got people who've got Cannes Lions up the yin yang, and we've got people all the way from Australia through Europe. We've got an Egyptian film director, someone out of New York City. So I think it's a really, and we've also got Google and Facebook in the seminar. So it's a fantastic collection of global knowledge.
This is an interesting concept because you've turned a single event into an acknowledgement of creativity. It's a festival, it's a week-long festival. But also you're seeing more and more people who are responsible for brands attending of their own volition. It used to be an agency thing. It's no longer that. It's for marketers, it's for brand managers.
One of the most interesting things I've probably learned, it's amazing how everyone says how a shoemaker always wears terrible shoes, and how in our own industry you forget the most important single truths. And the single truth is, what does your audience want? And that's what everyone forgets. And I always looked at this process, and Jeremy, how many functions do you go to? And you sit in this function where you're to a table of 10, and you're now subjected to a punitive ordeal for 5 hours. And that's the standard structure. And it says, okay, let's just subject everyone to this punishment, and you have to endure long speeches. And you endure this because they go, well, this person is the sponsor behind this, so now they have the right to punish you.
Or the dreaded corporate video.
The corporate video. So right from the onset, I've looked at it and said, how do we add value? So we don't have a dinner table. We have an auditorium, and it says, and it's all around the work. We have the largest screen at the convention center that they've ever had installed, and we make the work look beautiful, and we show you the work so that you can sit there for 2 hours and be immersed in great work. And you go, wow, this is amazing. I wish I did that. Who did that?
Precisely. So you're benchmarking your brand against other great work, and there's a lot of learning coming out of it.
The chairman of Unilever came out, walked out last year and said, I've walked out of here with 5 new ideas that I'm going to do. And that's what we want. And where we've seen that change is brands are coming now saying, what can we get from this? What is great work that's being done, and who's doing that work?
I would have charged him an additional consultancy fee, but let's move on. The African Roadshow. Let me say this to you, Andrew Human, that I think sometimes in this country we're a little arrogant about the rest of the continent. We think we do it better in South Africa, and maybe our creative contribution is a little bit better. You've done the sweep, you've come back, and you have fresh insight and new thinking, and I hope it dispels that myth.
The interesting thing that I learned out of the trip is that there is no such thing as Africa. That is the biggest myth and mistake everyone is making. It's exactly the same as going to Europe and thinking if you go to France and then you go to England, they're all European. And saying to a Frenchman, well, you're like the English, aren't you? And every country in Africa believes they're doing it better than the country, their neighbor. So if you go to Zimbabwe, they believe and they talk about being Zimbabwean. Nobody says, I'm African. As you just said, we in South Africa, Kenyans are Kenyans, they're not Africans. Nigerians are Nigerians. And each country, they're competitive, which is great.
Very quickly then, what can South African brands learn from that experience?
The thing we have to, I would say, if you learn about it, if you look at the African landscape, what the interesting areas are not in the big media areas, it's in the activations, it's in mobile, and it's in outdoor, it's in the on-the-ground communications as opposed to the standard traditional media, but very much mobile. In many countries is way, and Zimbabwe, which we often here look down on, Zimbabwe is way ahead of us in the use of mobile as a not only communication but financial tool.
All right, Andrew Human, we look forward to covering the Loeries this year. Thank you very much for joining us. Andrew Human, Chief Executive of the Loeries. Next week on the programme, the growing craft beer sector and how brands stand to benefit. That's this week's show. Thanks for watching.
News that moves. ENCA.com.